my name is Kimberly Wahama Deshane, and I'm the Operations and Events Manager at Northern Ontario Angels. We are one of the top angel organizations in North America, and given COVID-19, we are not able to do our pitch sessions face-to-face, so we welcome you to join us via Zoom today. Our NOA entrepreneurs, Richard and Hart Togman, are from Rent Panda in Thunder Bay and will be presenting their pitch to our viewers. Please welcome Richard and Hart to the screen.
Great, thanks Kimberly. Thanks for having us here. So I'm Richard, and the other handsome gentleman there is my brother Hart. And thank you for having us in our COVID offices to present to the Angel Group. So we're here to talk about Rent Panda. And so Rent Panda is a business focused on long-term rental housing. As we all know, the rental market is fundamentally broken. It's underperforming, it's generally a terrible experience. And we came to the business because both Hart and I, were tenants for quite a long time. Previous to starting the company, I had done my PhD in political science out in the West Coast and moving around for a lot of schools and consulting work. I'd lived in a lot of different cities. And my brother was the kind of downtown Toronto businessman working in marketing and advertising at the big agencies, working on national campaigns like GM Canada, the Government of Canada, Census, Tropicana. And so we came from very different worlds, but both shared a very similar experience in being tenants and having the whole rental market being a really uncomfortable, awkward, and generally unpleasant journey. And so as we kind of grew and matured in our careers, we also then bought properties and became landlords and realized, the additional layer of pain that landlords actually feel in running these small businesses and knowing them that no one there to help them. And so that's where Rent Panda was really born. So, we all know that renting is generally perceived as this very stressful experience, but we don't realize that the vast majority of people in the market on the landlord side are small and medium scale owners. So about 60 to 70% of all rental housing out there is controlled by small and medium scale landlords, which are essentially by definition amateurs, right? They're people like my brother and I who have investment properties on the side. They're people saving for retirement. They're tradespeople, putting their skills to use for them. And they're not doing it as full-time professional, big scale property management companies. Those big apartment towers that you're familiar with are roughly only 35% of the market, even in big cities. And in smaller markets like Thunder Bay or Guelph or Kitchener, the small and medium scale landlord really dominates that market, up to 70% of all housing. And we know there's no real brands or services out there specifically seeking to help them. And so that's really where we're focused on as a business. So we're really targeted at the small and medium scale landlord market, and especially in what we're calling tier 2 Canadian cities. So that's cities with a population of roughly 100,000 all the way up to almost 1 million people. And that market being the underserved of the underserved, right? So we're moving away from, the Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver scene. We're going into these medium scale cities. And then in those cities, into the most neglected elements, which are these small and medium scale landlords. This very diverse group of people that are running these de facto small businesses that have no real products or services that are there to help them. And so, even though this market seems small, right, like how much business is there in small markets with small landlords, it's actually enormous, right? So rental housing is a third of all housing in Canada. About 30 and 40% of the population are renters, and just providing services, so not the housing itself, but all the services to help people find a home, screen their tenants, get tenants insurance, things like that, is about a $1.68 billion a year industry. So a huge market right for the taking, just in these small tier 2 cities and just in these small medium scale landlords. So our goal as a company is really to change the dynamic of renting and provide a one-stop shop for all of your rental housing needs on both the tenant and the landlord side. So we have this full ecosystem of products with a very sophisticated digital delivery tool in the form of the website that really gets you everything you need across all the little micro points in your renting lifecycle. So whether it's posting a property for rent, screening a tenant, building a lease, filing an eviction form, getting insurance, there's tons of little points that you need, and every point needs its own little tool to help you. And so Rent Panda really provides that one-stop shop where everything you need you can get in one place easily. And so today we started with our, the basic version of the website that we launched with a couple of years ago, and we're just about to launch the new version of the website in the March-April timeline that will have a whole new level of experience. So it'll match the kind of Airbnb level slick digital interface that people have become really accustomed to using, and give us a lot more products and features that we're able to sell, and a huge amount of data on our users, which then allow us to micro-target and personalize advertising and really capitalize on the data advantage that comes with being the largest player in the rental market. We're also timing that with our expansion into the Tri-City area. So currently we're operating in Thunder Bay as our first city, and then in Guelph as our first expansion city. And then in about March, April, we'll be expanding to Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge, and the surrounding region as our next phase of expansion in the business. So how the business really works is in this really unique hub and spoke approach model to generating revenue. So there's a free listings platform that draws in the huge amount of users, right? No barriers to entry, list on Rent Panda for free, let us help you get a better tenant. And then we upsell on all of the different pain points that landlords and tenants experience on their journey. So, providing basic tools like tenant screening, so landlords can get, criminal background checks and credit checks at the click of a button. They can promote their property to the homepage. They can collect rent online through our system. We have a property management division that actually take over the full management of the property if landlords want, as well as a leasing agent service to help them find tenants. We're rolling out a paralegal service, and we have on-site advertising. And then in the near future, getting into some more sophisticated products through key partnerships, things like loans, mortgages, and insurance products are all part of the same rental housing journey. So each product is comes with its own set of tools and its own set of partnerships and its own price points. But the key thing is that by building this massive sales funnel, drawing in a huge base of users into our system, and then in making it super easy for them to upsell on every product that they want or desire along the journey, we become the ecosystem for rental housing and essentially synonymous with rental housing itself. And one of the key reasons why we're targeting these small and medium-scale landlords with this ecosystem of products in Tier 2 cities is because our goal is to dominate the markets that we're in. We're going to go into smaller markets, spend well on advertising and marketing efficiently, gain that initial base of users, and then the industry is such that network effects quickly kick in. So we get our initial inventory of housing, that brings in more tenants, which then brings in more landlords, and we quickly upcycle to the stage where we dominate the listings market, which then provides as many users and customers we need for the rest of our sales funnel. So by capitalizing on that network effect, we can expand quickly, rapidly, and really cost effectively. So in terms of existing competition out there, it's pretty minimal right now. It's near virgin territory, especially in these Tier 2 cities. The big competitors in those spaces are general classified ad platforms like Kijiji and Facebook Marketplace. So companies that really have no business in and don't really care about rental housing. They just care about getting eyeballs on their page to sell basic anonymous ads. And then as soon as the landlord or tenant makes that first connection, their user journey ends, right? So it's essentially a gateway to nowhere. They're really, ultimately disappointing tools for both landlords and tenants to use. In some of the bigger cities, market comparables like Toronto, there's other competitors like Viewit or PadMapper or Rentals.ca. Those aren't real players in the Tier 2 markets, but even they really focus on only selling advertising and almost none of the other products that we know landlords and tenants need to actually rent a home successfully. Now, in terms of the other spaces that we're working in, for example, paralegal services, leasing agent services, right, tenant screening tools, we know there are other competitors out there. And so some of them we're actually partnering with to bring services directly to our users. So for example, for tenant screening tools, things like criminal background checks and credit checks, we partnered with a company called Certain that does that professionally on a wholesale level, and then we can retail it onto our customers in a white label experience platform. A similar partnership we're just launching with Rentmula in March, April, as we launched the new website, so we can provide full service rent collection within that same platform. And the problem that these companies have, which they want to partner with us for or end up being our competitors, is that they have extremely high customer acquisition costs, right? How do you find these people in the sea of products and services out there at exactly the time that a tenant finds a home or a landlord needs to fill a vacancy? And so that's why we become such a critical piece of the infrastructure in renting in the cities that we operate in, because essentially we dominate the market, we have access to this incredibly hard to identify user base, and then can upsell them along the way. And we've seen that really play out in our first market in Thunder Bay and now in our expansion market in Guelph, where we have very high uptake rates on our products and have built whole services with a very minimal amount of internal advertising, just because that Rent Panda has become synonymous with rental housing, and we become the obvious choice for any purchases in that sphere. This also creates its own barriers to entry. So as we go into new markets and expand, we know that at some point in the near future, there's going to be other competitors that emerge that are similar to us. But right now, we are only going to be competing with Kijiji and Facebook. And then once we build our ecosystem, dominate the listings, other competitors then have to match the same level of product offering as us. So not only does it allow us to actually generate an incredible amount of revenue at incredibly low cost, but it creates its own barriers to entry as the network effects and the ecosystem of products takes hold. So what we've done to date is prove it out in 2 full cities. So we started in Thunder Bay. Within 2 years of launch, we had about 75% market share. That's, again, focusing on those small and medium-scale landlords. And because they're the majority of the market, it then essentially forces the large property management companies to list with us as well. And we've seen that happen in Thunder Bay, and recently onboarding the largest property manager in Northern Ontario onto the platform. We have a huge user base, right? Like 30–40% of the population rents. And so already in Thunder Bay, we have 15% of the entire city's population base as signed up active Rent Panda users, right? So we see that huge network effect taking hold. We're starting to see that in Guelph now, as we've been in market for a while, and we're expanding our reach and market dominance. And the stickiness of our product is really there. We see really high relisting rates as landlords use us once, try it out, and then stick with us for all future services, whether they're other properties or just relisting when they need to find the next tenant. In terms of per market profitability, we know that after about 2 years or so being in market, once we achieve a certain amount of dominance, each market becomes kind of a standalone profitable center for us, such that it contributes back to the whole to fund further expansion. And we've had really good success with some of our trial really high value products. So launching a property management division last year, within 10 months of launching, even during COVID conditions, we managed to get over 100 properties under management with 0 additional advertising, just because Rent Panda became the brand for your rental housing needs and became the obvious choice when you needed even something as expensive as a full service property manager. And so we also focus, part of our strategy in that deeply entrenched local market experience is partnering with local agencies. So in addition to winning multiple business awards for our efforts, we've been able to partner with key players like the universities, the hospitals, the multicultural centers, the people that we know bring people into the region, and not only partner, but have them become brand evangelists. So for example, we have an official partnership with the Lakehead Student Union, such that we're the sole provider of rental housing for Lakehead students when they go off campus, and that every time there's an influx of students in September and January, we actually offer free workshops hosted by the student union to the incoming class so that they can educate their members on how to rent safely, and we become entrenched as the brand for rental housing. So in terms of our revenue growth, we focused on a techified approach as we're taking to the whole business. So it's techifying a kind of a centuries-old product like rental housing, and really turbocharging the experience in terms of profit and growth. So kind of huge multiples in growth as we expand, and we have a very aggressive expansion strategy focused on multiple cities, new revenue and products, and deepening the penetration in existing markets. So even accounting for all the expansion costs in terms of building the new website, new advertising costs in new markets, and a very aggressive multi-city expansion plan year over year, we still project to aim profitability for 2023, including all of those embedded costs in the platform. So by combining the benefits of this traditional business of rental housing with all the advantages of the new digital technologies, we can really make profit in a really sustainable way, catering to this very traditional business in a very untraditional way. So what we're looking for today is we have a funding round open right now for our angel investors for about $500,000, and we're going to be using that money to fund ongoing product development. So finish developing all of the new tools and products we want to launch with the website, right? Cover the initial marketing and advertising costs in the 3 additional cities and region we're going to in about 2 months' time, and to enable us to proactively hire some key personnel. So we know from our experience in Thunder Bay and Guelph that, for example, some of the more labor-intensive property management operations are huge sellers and great recurring revenue generators. And so we need to be able to hire and train staff a little proactively to meet the demand that's going to be coming in. Now, in terms of market comparables, when we're talking about our valuation, we look to other companies that are doing similar things in other sectors. So companies like Second Closet, which is on-demand storage, Jiffy, kind of on-demand home maintenance, right? Care Guide, on-demand care services. So very similar models to what Rent Panda is doing in long-term housing. They're doing in their own niche industries. And we see those similar trends where they hit a certain valuation, raise some angel money early on. And then within about a year to 2 years, they've roughly, at least between, 2 to 4 times multiple their valuation. And then going towards a Series A, they're further increasing their valuation, multiple fold thereon. So we see a similar trend playing out with Rent Panda. Right now, we're still small, only in 2 markets, expanding to 5 in about a couple months' time. Our valuation is very reasonable, kind of given market comparables and our anticipated cash flow analysis. But the real value we see is not from incoming dividends, but the huge multiples in valuation as we continue to raise funding and then move towards an exit in the future. So I want to thank you for letting us present. If you have any questions or information, our contact information is up there, hello@rentpanda.ca, or you can give us a call here in our Thunder Bay office at 807-707-7948.
Thank you so much, Richard. That was a great presentation. I have a few questions from our executive team. You're seeking $500,000. Is this for a loan or company shares? And if so, what percentage of the company will you be giving? Are you willing to give up for that amount?
Yeah, Hart, why don't you start taking
Great question. Yeah, for sure. We haven't heard my voice yet. So that's a great question. This round is an equity round, so we're giving up shares of the company. We are valuing the company at $4 million, which accounts for 12.5% of the company being offered at this round.
And what is your expected rate of return for the investors?
Also a good question. So as with all startups, rate of return at this early stage is obviously speculative, but we're striving to, at a minimum, double our valuation, as Richard said, as we prepare for a Series A in 2022. So right now our revenues are roughly $250,000 a year in 2020, and we're expecting that by a Series A we'll have reached the $1 million in revenue mark. So, in a 3-year time frame, we're looking at, in a 5-year time frame, we're looking at roughly 3 times multiples. But obviously, with this kind of early stage involvement, a more long-term play is in order, and we see a lot of buyout potential down the line in 3 to 5 years. And the prop tech space is quite hot right now with a number of mergers and acquisitions. So we see great value in growing fast, in scaling quickly, and in producing those multiples in the next 12 to 24 months.
And Hart, what is your current total capital contribution?
Yeah, so for us in specific, Richard and I have both put some money into the company, roughly $100,000. And we also had a small family round where we raised $150,000. So to date, we've got $250,000 in the company. And we also have a number of grants that we've tapped into, being from the north.
Well, that's great. Well, I'd like to thank you for your presentation today, and we wish you continued success in your business. If you have any other further questions, you can reach us at northernontarioangels.ca, and we invite you to sign up for our e-newsletter and follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook. Have a great day, everybody, and stay safe.
Thanks, everyone.